I never thought I would hear such words from my own son. Not after everything I had done for him. Not after the nights I stayed awake worrying about his future. The food I skipped so he could eat, and the hours I worked late just to keep him in a good school. But life has a strange way of revealing truths, especially the ones we desperately try to ignore. My name is Margaret, though most people call me Maggie. I'm 64, and for most of my life, my world revolved around only one thing, my son Daniel. Or at least, I believed he revolved around me. The day everything changed, the sun wasn't even up yet. I remember sitting by the kitchen window with a cup of tea resting between my hands. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that made you feel small. I could hear the refrigerator humming and the soft ticking of the wall clock. Outside, a slow winter drizzle tapped gently against the glass. I stared at my tea for so long that the steam faded completely. Because just the night before, Daniel, my only child, looked me in the eyes with a coldness I never thought possible and said, "You're not getting anything when I take over. Not $1. Zero." At first, I thought he was joking. My son had always been stubborn, sometimes rude, even ungrateful, but this was different. This was personal. His face didn't show anger. It showed certainty, almost satisfaction. I swallowed hard and asked, "Why would you say something like that?" He shrugged, looked down at his phone, and replied, "Because you wasted Dad's time, his money, and honestly, you don't deserve anything." That last line sliced deeper than he could ever imagine. You don't deserve anything. It rang in my ears over and over like a cruel echo. For a moment, I felt faint. My chest tightened, my hands trembled, and tears filled my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Not in front of him. Daniel carried on scrolling through his phone, not even looking at me, not even noticing the pain he caused. I stood there frozen, wondering how the boy I raised turned into someone who could speak to his mother like she was a stranger. Maybe I should have seen the signs earlier. Maybe I should have realized the moment he started valuing money over people. Maybe I should have known the moment he began referring to his father's company as his future kingdom, long before my husband ever passed away. But denial is a comfortable prison. That morning, after hearing his poisonous promise of zero, I realized something I had refused to accept for decades. My son loved money more than he loved me, and he believed that once the will was read, he would control everything. The company, the investments, the house, my entire life. He thought I would be powerless. He thought I would be discarded. He thought everything belonged to him. He had no idea that the biggest shock of his life was waiting for him in that lawyer's office. To understand how we got here, you need to know my husband. Thomas Bennett was a brilliant man, smart, calm, and endlessly patient. He built his company from the ground up, a small construction repair service that slowly grew into a reputable contracting business with more than 50 employees. He worked hard, too hard if you ask me. He loved the company. He loved providing for his family. And he loved our son more than anything. But Daniel seemed to love the idea of inheriting things, not earning them. When he was a child, he was sweet. He would bring me flowers from the yard, sit on Thomas's lap during dinner conversations, and tell us he wanted to be just like Dad. Those were the golden days, when love didn't have a price tag. But the older he got, the more things changed. In high school, he refused to help with chores because Dad's company will be mine anyway. In college, he bragged to his friends about becoming rich without lifting a finger. And after graduation, instead of working the business, he joined it as a future owner, a title he invented himself. Thomas tried to guide him gently, saying, "Son, you need to work for what you want. Nothing in life is truly yours unless you've earned it." But Daniel, he rolled his eyes, smirked, and said, "Dad, everyone knows I'm the heir. Why pretend?" I hated hearing him talk like that. But Thomas always said, "He'll learn. Life teaches everyone eventually." I believed him. But life didn't get the chance to teach Daniel, because Thomas's heart attack came too suddenly. One cold November morning, Thomas collapsed in his office. The doctor said stress had been building for years. I lost my partner of 42 years in a matter of minutes. And to my horror, Daniel's first words after hearing the news weren't, "Is Dad okay?" They were, "What happens to the company now?" I should have known then. I should have confronted him. But I was drowning in grief, barely able to get through each day. After the funeral, when we returned home, the house felt emptier than ever. Daniel followed me into the kitchen and said, "So, what did Dad leave in the will?" I assume the business is in my name now. I told him gently that the lawyer would handle everything. Daniel nodded slowly and then smirked. It was the same smirk he used when he thought he was winning at something. "Makes sense," he said. "Either way, Mom, just know you won't need anything after I take over. I'll handle the money. You just relax." Relax. As if I had ever lived a single year relaxing. As if the company's survival wasn't built on Thomas working and me taking night shifts to support him. But Daniel didn't see any of that. He only saw what he thought belonged to him. Little did he know, Thomas had made arrangements he never suspected. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and polished wood. The shelves behind him were stacked with thick volumes, and a silver clock ticked softly on the far wall. I sat down quietly, clutching my purse, my heart pounding. Daniel sat beside me, leaning back with a confident posture of someone already imagining himself in charge. His suit was expensive, bought with his father's credit card months before Thomas passed. He didn't look at me. His foot tapped impatiently against the floor. Mr. Lawson, our longtime family lawyer, cleared his throat and opened a folder. He adjusted his glasses and looked at us with the seriousness of a judge preparing to announce a verdict. "Thank you both for coming," he said. "Your husband, your father, left very specific instructions." Daniel grinned. He actually grinned, like he was about to receive a trophy. Mr. Lawson began reading through Thomas's words, a message he had recorded a year before he died, carefully written in his calm, thoughtful style. "My dear family," the will began, "I hope this letter finds you in peace and unity." Daniel sighed loudly, then muttered, "Can we skip the sentimental parts?" I felt my mouth fall open in disbelief. Mr. Lawson's eyes narrowed behind his glasses. "No, we cannot." He continued reading. "To my beloved wife, Margaret, the woman who stood by me through every hardship and every victory, you deserve more than I could ever give you." I felt tears sting my eyes. Daniel rolled his. Mr. Lawson went on, "To my son, Daniel, I hope you understand that a man's worth is measured by his character, not the size of his bank account." Daniel's smile faded. He leaned forward sharply. "What is that supposed to mean?" Mr. Lawson raised a hand calmly. "Please, allow me to continue." He read the next part slowly, every word landing like a hammer on cold stone. "I have watched you grow, my son, and while I love you deeply, I cannot pretend I am happy with the path you've chosen. You have not yet learned responsibility, humility, or respect. Until you do, you are not ready to inherit anything of value." Daniel's jaw tightened. His face turned red. "What is this?" he snapped. "Is this a joke?" Mr. Lawson kept reading. "Which is why, for now, I leave my son $10. Silence. Pure, thick, unbelievable silence. Then Daniel exploded. "What?" $10. 10. This has to be a mistake." Mr. Lawson shook his head. "It is correct. I reviewed the document several times." Daniel slammed his fist on the table. "This is ridiculous. My father would never." But Mr. Lawson cut him off gently. "Your father wrote this after you refused to come to work for 6 months, after you used company funds for personal purchases, and after you told employees that you would fire half the staff when you took over." Daniel's mouth fell open. He looked like the world had just shattered beneath him. Meanwhile, I sat there, silent, because I had known something Daniel didn't. Thomas didn't leave him $10 out of spite. He left it as a lesson, a final fatherly attempt to wake him up. And the part Daniel didn't know yet, the part that would flip his entire world upside down, was still coming. Daniel was still shouting when Mr. Lawson raised his hand again. "We are not finished," he said firmly. Daniel froze mid-rant. His face was a mix of confusion and panic. Mr. Lawson continued, "Now, regarding the remainder of the estate, Daniel leaned forward again, desperate. And for the first time that morning, I saw fear flicker across his eyes. Mr. Lawson turned a page and said, Thomas left the entirety of his company, all assets, all shares, and all operational control to his wife, Margaret. Daniel blinked. Once, twice, a third time. What? He whispered. Mr. Lawson didn't pause. And the house, the savings, the rental properties, and the investment accounts all go to Margaret as well. Daniel's eyes widened like someone had sucked the air out of his lungs. That can't be right, he said weakly. He knew I was his only son. He knew I was supposed to. He promised, Mom, tell him, Dad wouldn't do that. I turned slowly toward him. For the first time since he told me I deserved zero, I didn't feel small. I felt strong, because Thomas knew the truth, and he trusted me to protect what he had built. My voice was calm when I finally spoke. Your father did what he believed was right. Daniel stood up so fast his chair screeched across the floor. This isn't fair. I'm the heir. I'm the one who deserves everything. But Mr. Lawson shook his head. You were not chosen, he said quietly. Not because your father did not love you, but because you were not ready. Daniel looked like he was about to collapse. His hands were shaking. His lips trembled with rage. Mom, he whispered, you're not seriously going along with this, right? You're going to hand everything over to me later, right? Right? I looked into the eyes of the boy I raised, and all I saw was greed, entitlement, self-importance, arrogance, everything Thomas had been afraid of. No, I said softly. I won't. Daniel's face twisted. You're going to regret this, he hissed. Both of you. He stormed out of the office, slamming the door behind him. The room trembled. I didn't. Mr. Lawson exhaled slowly and closed the folder. I'm sorry you had to hear all of that, he said. But your husband was very clear. He trusted you completely. I nodded. But deep down, I wasn't thinking about the money. I wasn't thinking about the company. I was thinking about my son, my only child, walking away from me because he valued wealth over family. And it broke something inside me. But the story wasn't over, because Daniel wasn't done, not by a long shot. The days after the will reading were heavy. The house felt colder, the halls emptier. Daniel didn't call. He didn't visit. He didn't even text. I knew he was furious, but I didn't expect what happened next. One morning, I woke up to dozens of messages from employees at the company. Daniel tried to override computer access. He attempted to fire accounting staff. He threatened to shut down the warehouse. He claimed he was a real owner. My heart sank. This wasn't anger anymore. This was revenge. Daniel stormed into main office, yelling at the supervisors, telling them I was too old and too emotional to run anything. He tried to demand they follow his orders. When they refused, he threatened to ruin them. Every word he spoke spread like wildfire. Some workers cried. Others panicked. I spent hours calming people, reassuring them they weren't losing their jobs. I felt humiliated, not because of what he said, but because the boy I raised had turned into someone who believed power was his birthright. That afternoon, I finally confronted him. He was pacing near the warehouse, phone pressed against his ear, shouting about lawyers and appeals and getting back what he deserves. Daniel, I said quietly. He spun around. Oh, look who finally showed up, he sneered. The fake boss. The word stung, but I forced myself to breathe. This isn't the way, I said. Your father loved you. He wanted you to learn responsibility, not... Don't lecture me, he snapped. Dad owed me everything. That company should be mine. No, I whispered. It was his, and he chose me. He pointed a finger at my face, shaking with rage. You think you won? You think this is over? I'm going to take everything. You'll see. I'll challenge the will. I'll take the business. I'll take the house. You'll get nothing. There it was again. Nothing. How easily that word came to him. How deeply he believed it. I felt my hands grow cold. Daniel, please. Stop. You're hurting yourself more than me. He laughed. A bitter, ugly laugh. No, Mom. I'm hurting you. Then he got in his car and sped away. That night, I cried until my pillow was soaked. I wasn't crying over the company, or the estate, or the will. I cried because my son didn't see me as his mother anymore. He saw me as an obstacle, as someone standing between him and the wealth he believed he deserved. And I knew, if he kept going down this path, he would destroy everything Thomas built and everything inside himself. I had to do something, not to punish him, but to make him understand the truth. I thought long and hard before making my decision. Everyone assumed I would use my new authority to crush Daniel legally. I could have banned him from the company. I could have changed all locks and blocked his access permanently. But that wasn't what Thomas would have wanted. He always believed in second chances. He believed people could change, even when they disappointed him. So instead of punishing Daniel, I created a plan to test him, to give him the chance his father hoped he would take. First, I called Mr. Lawson to structure the company temporarily under a clear, written rule. Daniel could earn a leadership role through actual work, real work, 6 months of full-time commitment, no privileges, no shortcuts. He would start at the lowest officer level, shadowing supervisors, learning operations, speaking to clients, managing real problems. If he proved maturity, he could move up. If he didn't, he would be permanently removed. When I told the supervisors, they agreed immediately. When I told the staff, they sighed with relief. But when I told Daniel, he laughed in my face. You want me to be some employee? Some rookie? Me? The heir. You were left $10, I said gently. Not the company. That was a mistake. No, it wasn't. He stepped closer, his voice low. You humiliated me. Dad humiliated me. And now you want me to work for what's mine. Yes, I whispered. He shook his head violently. No way. I'm not doing it. Hire someone else. I'll sue. I'll drag this entire company down if I have to. The threat hit me like a freezing wind. Daniel, this is your chance. Don't throw it away. He scoffed and stormed off again. But something happened in the weeks that followed. The lawsuit he threatened, no lawyer took it. The will was airtight. His friends, who he bragged to, they stopped calling, because without money, he wasn't useful to them. He applied for bank funding to take over the company. Denied. Slowly, he began to see reality. He moved back to a smaller apartment. He sold the expensive car. He lost the illusion of being a future king. And one rainy morning, he came to the office. Quiet, hesitant, different. He approached me slowly. Is the offer still open? He whispered. My voice almost broke. Yes, if you want it. He nodded, looking down. Okay, I'll try. It wasn't an apology, but it was a beginning. And beginnings are powerful, especially when they grow from humility. Daniel's first week was rough. He struggled with simple responsibilities. He argued with supervisors. He felt embarrassed, asking questions he thought he should already know. But slowly, I began to see changes. He learned how to manage customer complaints professionally. He shadowed repair teams on site visits, getting his shoes muddy and gloves dirty. He started staying late to understand accounting reports. He apologized to staff members he had mistreated. One afternoon, I overheard him telling a group of employees, I used to think this company owed me something, but now I see my dad built this with real work. And I took all of that for granted. It was the first time I had heard him speak with honesty in years. Month after month, he grew. He wasn't perfect, but he was learning. During his 5th month, we faced a major crisis. A major supplier backed out last minute, threatening to stop construction on 3 projects. Daniel stayed up all night contacting alternative suppliers, negotiating deals, and rearranging schedules. He saved the company thousands. And when he walked into my office at 6 a.m., eyes tired, voice quiet, he said, I didn't know work like this was so hard. I'm sorry, Mom, for everything. That was the first time he truly apologized. Not for the money, not for the will, for how he treated me. Tears filled my eyes. I hugged him, and for the first time in a long time, he hugged me back. At the end of the 6th month, The supervisors gathered with me to evaluate his progress. The vote was unanimous. Daniel had earned a leadership role. I called him into the office that afternoon. He sat nervously across from me. "Daniel," I said softly, "you've grown more than I ever expected. Your father will be proud of you." He looked down, swallowing hard. "I hope so," he whispered. I slid a folder toward him. Inside was a document granting him operational co-leadership, with responsibilities, authority, and real influence. He opened it slowly. His eyes widened. Then he shook his head. "Mom, I don't deserve this." I smiled. "No one deserves their future. They earn it, and you did." He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "Thank you," he whispered, "for not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to." I reached across the desk and touched his hand gently. "A mother doesn't give up. A father didn't either. He left you $10 not to punish you, but to remind you where character begins." Daniel nodded, tears streaming down his face. For the first time, I saw not a greedy boy, but the man Thomas always hoped he would become. Life didn't magically become perfect after that. Daniel still struggled sometimes. Old habits occasionally tried to return, but the difference was he fought them. He worked. He learned. He listened. He respected others. And slowly, people began respecting him back. A year later, he came to me with something in his hand. An envelope. "For you," he said nervously. I opened it. Inside was a check, made out to the company. His first personal investment. "Dad built this with everything he had," he said softly. "Now I want to do the same. Real work. Real effort. No shortcuts." I cried, not because of the money, but because I had my son back. Not the entitled boy, not the angry man, but the real Daniel, the one I raised, the one Thomas believed in, the one who finally understood the lesson. Inheritance means nothing if you haven't built anything inside yourself. Years later, when people ask Daniel about the $10 in will, he always smiles and says, "It was the best thing my father ever gave me."